And welcome to Around the Ozarks Spotlight. Each week, we uncover the stories behind the people who live and work here in Southwest Missouri. Those individuals with entrepreneurial spirit who work to better the lives of others or put pen to paper to write books about the stories and the history of the Ozarks and its people. I'm your host, Scott Meyer, and today we're going to explore the world of fundraising. Doesn't that sound fun? With Donnie and Tom Franiak, who are this year's co-chairs of the Cattle Barons Ball, which benefits the American Cancer Society. And Tom, rumor has it, you and I both share something in common. And no, it's not the lovely woman next to you. That's obviously your wife. But I'm a let's see, I got to do the math quick. I'm a 13-year cancer survivor, and I believe you've walked down that path that way yourself.
I do. I'm coming up on 2 years. By the time the Cattle Baron Ball starts, it will be 2 years.
Well, congratulations, and we'll get into that a little bit when we talk on. Now, let's find out first who Donnie and Tom Franiak are. Donnie obviously is on his left, and you are who? Donnie, tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm Tom's wife.
That's good.
I'm a nurse. I'm a registered nurse. I work at Mercy Hospital in Springfield. Been there for 18 and a half years. Up until a year ago, I have been in leadership. Most recently, I was a nursing supervisor in pain management and neurosurgery clinic. But a year ago, after Tom's cancer journey, I transferred into oncology infusion. So I now do chemotherapy for cancer patients every day.
And that's fulfilling, but obviously it's a tough time when people are going through that process.
Yes. Now, tough and rewarding all at the same time.
So you're originally from where?
Oh gosh. Well, my father was in the Air Force, but I used to call Colorado Springs, Colorado, my home. But like I said, Tom and I have been here for 18 and a half years. So I think we're transplants now.
Okay. And Tom, you off air told me that she obviously is the better half. So we'll leave that set there for a minute. But what about you? What's the Franiak family? Are you guys longtime Springfieldians or Ozarkians, or are you from someplace else?
I was born and raised in the south suburbs of Chicago, and I moved to Colorado Springs, Colorado. And my mother at the time, I was like 24, 25 when I moved there. She says, "Why are you moving to Colorado?" I said, "To become successful and meet and marry my wife." And I did both of those while I was there. So,
well, congratulations. Now, south side of Chicago, I take it you're a White Sox fan.
No.
Oh, you're a Cubs fan.
I would be a Cubs fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's I thought the suburban. Were you south side of Chicago? Or were you suburbs?
Well, I was in Calumet City, Illinois, which is so close to Chicago. If I threw a rock, I could hit it.
Okay.
And my father would not take me to White Sox games because the neighborhood was terrible, and you would get mugged and have your car stolen by the end of the baseball game. So he drove me up to the north side where we went to Cubs games.
That's right. And that's you're not the first person to have that happen to him either. That's the old Comiskey used to be in a pretty tough area. No question about it.
And the new one is in the same spot. It's just across the street.
But the area, I think, has gotten a little better. A little better.
Okay, let's go with that.
It's a little better. Well, the two of you, did you raise your hand for the privilege to be the heading up the co-chairs for this year's Cattle Barons Ball, or is this something? Did you do it last year too?
No,
I was on the auction committee last year.
Okay, so you were promoted to co-chairs of the of this year's ball.
Well, Sherry liked my story, and I guess she thought I would do a good job. I am an independent business owner, small business owner, so she felt like we'd do a good job and liked the story and asked if we would do it. And then she took us out one night and got us liquored up and bought an expensive meal, and we said yes.
And the rest is history. You're listening to Around the Ozark Spotlight. My guests are Donnie and Tom Franiak, co-chairs of this year's Cattle Barons Ball. Now, I met Sherry a couple of years ago, and there were a couple of other people in that chair a few years before that. So at Midwest Family, we got involved with the Cattle Barons really when I moved to that area, which was in 2016. I am sure your story's probably a lot more thrilling than mine was. I had stage 1B colon cancer. I had a tumor removed that was about the size of a small football right next to my liver, and was given the choice of either radiation or chemo, and I elected to do neither because it hadn't spread into my lymph nodes at all. So I've been very fortunate and did not have to go through a lot of the really tough things that people have to go through. But Tom, why don't you share with us what went on in your mind when you found out? Well, let's talk about the day you found out. What was that all about? And what kind of cancer was it?
I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer, and we found out at about 2:00 in the morning in an emergency room. I had been urinating blood for several weeks, and I had made the appointment with the urologist, but that takes forever to get in to see him.
Sure.
And by the time that day came, the exit was blocked by blood clots, and I was unable to urinate. So we ended up in the ER, and that's where they told us.
Oh,
But my
gosh.
first words were, "I'm sorry, honey, we're going to go broke."
Wow. It's so did they keep you, or did you have to go home and then prepare for surgery?
No, they sent me home with a catheter,
Mhm.
which was not a good plan, but we followed their instructions, and it was we started for the next 7 weeks, 6 weeks maybe, getting a lot of tests.
Mhm.
CAT scans, MRIs, PET scans, bone scans. Uh, what is that? They stuck a needle in it and decided what it was.
Oh, a biopsy.
Biopsy.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, the
Into your
biopsy?
kidney.
Your biopsy, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So,
they
do you
did
have a
all the-
family?
Yeah, we
You
have
have a family?
children.
Okay,
Children,
so
grandchildren, siblings.
I'm just relating to my own experience. When I was finally set for surgery, which happened about, I guess it was a week after I got my biopsy back. All I remember is when they said the biopsy came back and you have cancer. Nobody wants to hear that word.
No.
Fair?
No, and nobody can prepare for it.
They didn't want to operate on Tom right away because the tumor was so big.
Great.
They didn't feel like that gave him really good odds.
Mhm.
He had about 50% coming through the surgery because the tumor was so large and it had
Wow.
invaded his vena cava, which is a very large vessel in the middle of your body, which carries an oxygenated blood back to your heart.
Mhm.
His lymph nodes, his adrenal, as well as his kidney. So they opted, we all together decided that he would take an oral chemo. Axitinib was the name of that, and immunotherapy. So he went every 3 weeks to the oncology infusion center to have the immunotherapy. And within about 3 months' time, the tumor had started to respond to the treatment.
Mhm.
About 6 months into it, the tumor had shrunk by half. So we scheduled surgery at that time.
So, Tom, when you went in, how long were you in the hospital before they actually did the surgery?
We went in that morning. They did the surgery.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and
I'm
then
not.
how long were you there then after that?
Oh, he was in the hospital for a week following surgery. But
So-
we found out in October. He was diagnosed in October 10th
Mhm.
of 20, and his surgery was the end of October 21. So
Right in the middle of the pandemic.
well, he found out in the middle of the pandemic. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was not a good time. But so 2021, end of October of 21 was when he had surgery. The surgery took 7 hours.
Mm-hmm.
He has a very long incision all the way down from his sternum to his pubis.
Sure.
And yeah, I was by myself because they wouldn't let anybody else come in the hospital because
That had to be hard. That had to be hard for
because
both
of
of you.
COVID. Yeah. I did a lot of we did a lot of praying.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was tough, but had lots of people behind us, praying for us, thinking about us,
Sure.
pulling for us. And through the grace of God, we made it through.
You're hearing my guests today on Around the Ozark Spotlight. We've got the husband and wife team of Donnie and Tom Franiak, co-chairs of this year's Cattle Baron Ball, which is obviously raising money for American Cancer Society. Now, Tom, tell me you didn't make the mistake I made, which was immediately go to the internet to figure out what was going to happen to me.
No, I did whatever the doctors told me.
Well, then you're a heck of a lot smarter than I am.
You know, everybody's like, oh, congratulations, you beat it. Oh, you're fighting. I'm like, I felt like a passenger in a car. I mean, whatever they said to do, I did. And I'm a pretty private person. So, it was tough to let that many people in my bubble and invade my space. And
but you really, when you're laying there, and in your case, after your surgery, when you're recovering, the things you think about, were you thinking about your company? Were you thinking about your family? Were you thinking about your future? What kinds of things were you thinking about?
That was probably more the first 6 weeks of the after the diagnosis,
Mm-hmm.
because I was, I had a catheter, and although they said I could be mobile, you can't really be mobile
Mm-hmm.
when you're constantly having to tend to it to make sure you can have flow, right?
Sure.
So yeah, I thought, I looked out the windows and just thought, not ready to go.
Right.
Yeah. Thought about God, trees, wildlife. We live in the forest,
Yeah.
and it really changes your perspective as to what is important in life. And
amen to that.
It's not a Starbucks coffee.
No. And I don't think, one of the things that's interesting and why the Cattle Barons is important and the American Cancer Society is important is it does allow you a place that you can go, especially online, or if you call and talk to someone who can give you some answers to things that you don't really know. And like you said, until you've really walked down that path, people that have, good and bad. But when it's you and you look into the faces of your family, and especially, and Donnie, I'm married to a nurse as well. Those are good people, and you can see the pain, and you just can't help but feel, what's it going to take to get better? And
in my past life, Scott, as a nurse, I worked in the operating room for 27 years, so I knew exactly what was happening. So, seeing it all up close and personal.
Well, Tom, I hope it's not too tough for you to talk about it, but I really wanted to share it with the audience because I think it's difficult to find a place in people's hearts when you're asking them to be generous without having a good story that goes with it, because cancer touches so many of us, whether it's people whose children have had problems, or their parents, or them. It's just one of those things where you can't help but know somebody, and now yourself. And I can't imagine you didn't do the same as I did after you came out of the other side of the surgery. Beyond thanking God, you thank God for a surgeon who knew what the heck they were doing.
Absolutely.
And they saved they had you open on the table. They had all your insides out on the table, and they figured out how to put it all back, and it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I probably feel better today than I did when I got my diagnosis.
Yeah.
I really feel healthier. and I'm sure that had a lot to do with it.
We're going to break here, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit about the Cattle Barons Ball. Now that we've got the history of your cancer situation, we'll be back in a moment with more on Around the Ozarks Spotlight with my guests Tom and Donnie Franiak, and we'll be back right after these messages.
Hey everybody, it's Ethan and Sarah Forhetz from your favorite podcast, Around the Ozarks in 5. I'm sure you've been wondering, how can I get even more amazing stories, events, and witty banter to start my day?
Well, look no further. Here we are. Sign up for our daily newsletter. You'll have what's going on around the Ozarks right at your fingertips each weekday morning.
Yeah, just go to AroundTheOzarks.com, click on the newsletter tab to sign up.
Thanks for listening to Around the Ozarks in 5. We hope to see you in your inbox soon.
And welcome back to the second half of today's Around the Ozarks Spotlight. I'm your host, Scott Meyer. With me are Tom and Donnie Franiak, who are this year's co-chairs of the Cattle Barons Ball. And what date is the ball this year, you two?
August 26th.
August 26th. And where are they having it?
No, at the E-Plex.
Okay.
At the fairgrounds.
See, I could tell people these things, but I'm leaning on the co-chairs now to jump in
No,
there.
that's fine. I didn't know which one of us was going to talk.
Ozark Empire Fairgrounds.
Tom, is it fair to say that Danny speaks for you, or do you speak for Danny, or you guys speak together? What's the how does that work in your world?
Donnie has a tendency to go to the background. I'm a little bit more dynamic, so I really don't want to hog the spotlight. It's easy for me to do.
I understand, but I'll tell you what: being married to a nurse has its own things that go with that as well, which are all good, by the way. I'm just saying,
Well,
it's the best thing I ever did. Right when my mother-in-law, who was also a nurse, after her husband passed, she was seeing an old friend from high school. They weren't dating, but they were good friends. They're in their 80s. And she said, he either wants me as a nurse or a purse. It's going to be one or the other. She said, hopefully it's the nurse, because I don't have a lot of money. But
no. So
it's good, Tom, that we have somebody like that with us, because at some point you need them, right? They come in handy. They really come in handy. August 26th is the date. And as co-chairs, a big part of what you have to do is fundraising as well. How's that going?
It's going great.
It is going good.
We are ahead of schedule from last year.
Yeah.
Is that right? That's great. Yes. That's great news. Yep. It really and truly is. There were some people.
That doesn't mean don't stop giving.
No.
No.
This means we're doing good so far, and we want to keep it up.
We increased the goal.
Well, we're doing well on the table sales and individual tickets.
Yes.
Picking up.
Excellent.
But
the advertising just started, and they said they sold like 150 tickets, and the sponsorship for tables is ahead of schedule. The auction committee, we have a silent auction and a live auction. They did great.
We have some amazing stuff.
Their goal was to hit 75 packages, and they're at 77, and there's still 60 days to go.
Yeah.
So they're going to start grouping things together.
Well, that's excellent. Donnie, what are some of the things? See, I'll make it simple on you guys. I'll talk to each of you individually. How's that? So, Donnie, what are some of the things that they'll find in the silent auction?
Oh, in the silent auction?
Or even the big one, even the vocal auction.
Well, the big one, the live auction during dinner, I'm really excited about. We have a cruise that we're going to be auctioning off. What is it?
5 days.
5 days, and you can upgrade if
on
you
Royal
want.
Caribbean.
On Royal
Caribbean.
Okay. There's dinner at the wine cellar at
Robert Lowe's.
Robert Lowe's.
Okay.
Yes. Jim's Steakhouse. A year of free meals at the steakhouse. So
really,
who doesn't love Jim's? I mean, come on.
And Jim is a personal friend. He and his wife, and Jim went through a little something a while back. He had a little melanoma behind his ear.
We actually got to sit with Jim and his wife last year.
Well, that's good. Yeah, she's and Elthie's going through a thing too. So I mean, the stuff doesn't get very far away from all of us.
No,
I mean, it's amazing how many people are touched.
Yeah, 1 and 2 males and 1 and 3 females.
Is
will
that
be-
right? Is that what it is, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay.
1 in 2 males will be diagnosed with cancer, and 1 in 3 females. So I tell all my buddies, I said, you know what? Go ahead, look to the guy on your right and the guy on the left. One of you two is actually look at the guy on your left or right. One of you two is getting cancer.
Yeah.
Now that includes skin cancers and things like that. They're a little less serious, but they're all serious.
Well, they
And-
are, and melanoma is a real silent killer. It's one of those
Yeah.
things that people don't even know they have, and all of a sudden, boom,
Absolutely.
you're stage 4, and bad things
Nobody
happen.
wants to hear
So-
the C word ever.
No,
No.
not at all. Well, let's stay on the ball if we can now for a little bit. What do we have for music? Do we have music this year?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
See, now Donnie gets
Jason-
excited, Tom. You
know.
got to jump in
I
there.
am so excited. Jason Pritchard is coming to be our entertainment this year. He's entertainer from Branson, but
Uh-huh.
we knew Jason way back when we first moved to the area. We went to church with him, so we got to hear Jason perform during church. So he used
Okay.
to help sing worship songs and what have you. And the first song that truly touched my heart that Jason sang and in church was "Live Like You're Dying" by Tim McGraw. So
Sure.
that has stuck with me for a long time. So Jason Pritchard's coming. He was also on America's Got Talent. So, and we
Excellent.
watched him on America's Got Talent as well. So good, great, lively. It's going to be wonderful. We have Sean Monday is going to be there.
He's the
before-
best. He's great.
Oh, he's
Excellent
great.
bass player.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
I can't remember the other group that sang the national anthem last year. So good. Family, but
Oh no!
uh-oh.
I got.
didn't silence
I didn't
your
silence
phone.
my phone. Oh, fix it.
That's so bad.
That's the beauty of
But anyway.
podcasting. See, it's all live.
And then we have Mechanical Bull. We have some games, I believe.
Mhm.
There'll be Grooms is lending us some sitting area furniture, so you can purchase a time to sit on the couch and be served by the Wranglers. We have specialty drinks, so all with the purchase price of your ticket, alcohol is included. So they're making up specialty drinks for Under the Neon Moon, so they'll be fun.
Well, that's
what
excellent.
else?
Tom, you had mentioned the goal this year. I'm not sure. Have we in the past talked about the number? Do you know?
You mean recently
The
today?
fundraising goal? Yeah, the actual goal of
No,
fundraising.
the goal we set this year was 400,000,
Okay.
and we have a silent goal we want to reach that we won't announce to anybody because then they
Excellent.
expect you to hit that. But last year we raised 325,000,
Well,
and
that's
so we set.
it's amazing when you think about the last time I saw a number, it was in the 3,500 and growing of nonprofits in our area that are looking for funding. And
Sure.
when you consider there's so many, the Springfield retail market's about 500,000, and if you stretch it out about another 50 miles, you get to about 1 million people. But in an area that size, that's a lot of pressure on fundraising. Yet the
Goodness.
Cattle Barons, year in and year out, seems to do very well. Why do you think that is?
Because it's a great time.
It's a great time, and cancer touches so many people. It just touches so many people that people want to get rid of it, and this is the way to do it.
Yeah, so
Donnie,
think
back in the day, my wife worked at a cancer center in Detroit for about 3 years. And she was also in kidney dialysis for a long time and some other things when that stuff was happening. But the story she used to tell about working with the cancer center where she was at, it was really tough. You guys are pretty tough. Nurses see a lot, and I see blood and I run the other way. But for 3 years, I think the hardest part for her was getting to know people on this side that didn't make it to the other side.
Right.
And,
we are doing so much better with treatments, medications, chemotherapy, radiation, those kind of things. We are doing so much better. Chances, outcomes are so much better. And that's because of the research that the American Cancer Society does and is able to do through giving, through
Sure.
those kind of things. So we can't do it. They can't do it without us.
Who wants the pressure on telling people where they can find the tickets and or make a donation?
I will. I do it.
Okay, Donnie, you take it away.
It's Cattle Barons Ball, SWMO.com. That has that's the website. It'll tell you everything you need to know. It'll give you all the prices. It'll show you all the things that we've got planned. It has a little blurb that'll introduce us. So yes, Cattle Barons Ball, SWMO.com.
Tom, tell the folks what's the business you have. You said you're a small businessman.
Yeah, I own Midwest Cabinets and Design in Ozark,
Okay.
Missouri, and we are a cabinet resale business and a remodeling company. So we'll do everything from helping a DIYer get through a cabinet project. We have a great program for them, and all the way up to full turnkey operation where we bring in all our people and do it for you.
Now, did you have the work done, your surgery here in Springfield?
No,
St. Louis.
You did?
Mercy St.
Okay.
Louis. Yeah.
But they did. Was there good coordination between Springfield and St. Louis?
The best.
Excellent.
All our doctors talked. Dr. Modia, who was a cancer and hematology doctor, who still is Tom's cancer and hematology doctor, primary care, Dr. Dustin Tompkins, and Dr. Agarwal at Mercy St. Louis was our surgeon, and they all spoke.
And they were such a good team. They shared each other's cell phone numbers.
That's
So
great, isn't it?
We did not go through normal channels.
Yeah.
And I would say this, that, if anybody has to go through this journey, be kind and polite, because you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar.
Yeah.
And stay
And
positive.
well, as you both know,
positive.
the folks learned, the folks that are working on you, that's what they do. Tom, you're probably a great cabinet guy, and Donnie, you're a great nurse. But at the end of the day, those surgeons, they know what they're doing. And
They're amazing.
I asked my surgeon when we first had that first meeting, and I said, so this is where I looked online, which I should never have done, and said, do you do Da Vinci surgery? Can you do, because I had colon cancer. I said, can you just do the holes and go in there and and
Robotics.
this guy was a colorectal surgeon for 35 years, also teaches colorectal surgery at Wayne State University. And Dr. Hamabjan was his name. And he looked at me and he said, Scott, I've done that. He said, but you're a large guy, and I'm probably going to have to open you up anyway if I find something I don't like. So, and I said, doctor, forget I ever asked. I don't know what the heck I was thinking. Any more than I leave my car to a mechanic, I sure as heck am going to leave my life in the hands of someone like you, because I don't know.
When we went into the pre-surgery meeting with our Dr. Agarwal, we went and got to see him personally before surgery, and Donnie, being the nurse, had a lot of questions. And he finally looked at her and he says, he tells me, he says, I'm going to do this big Mercedes incision on you. And she's like, can't you do it laparoscopic or a little slit?
Oh, there you go. Yep.
And he turned around and he's like, look, I do these things robotically. I could do them laparoscopically. But for Tom, he needs this.
Yeah.
And kind of put her in her place. Like, hey, you want to go get another surgery. Yeah. And he was my guy from then on. It was like.
He's as old as one of my children. And it made me mad. But he knew how to put me where I needed to be, and that was okay.
And he was excellent. He really was
great.
After surgery, he came by every day.
Yeah.
And just was as wonderful as could be. I owe my life to him.
Well,
And-
God bless the two of you, and good things for the Cattle Barons Ball. We're running out of time. I'm
Okay.
glad you stepped up to do this. I know it's not easy. Again, Donnie, you want to give them the website?
Cattle Barons Ball, SWMO.com.
I want to thank my guests today, Tom and Donnie Franiak, on Around the Ozark Spotlight. Also, my producers, Taylor Worley and Jay Stevens, as well as all of you for joining us today. If you happen to miss all or part of today's program, you can find it in its entirety on MidwestFamilySpringfield.com website, the AroundTheOzarks.com site, or our new app for Around the Ozarks, which can be found in Apple App Store or Android apps. And you can hear and view today's show as well as all the earlier shows this year and last on our website. I'm Scott Meyer. Remember, every day is a gift. Enjoy life. Have a great day.